My name is Rachel, and for 8 years I was the family's unpaid wedding planner. Not by choice, but because saying no wasn't an option in the Morrison family. Every engagement announcement came with the same expectation. Rachel will handle everything. Rachel always makes it perfect. Rachel doesn't have a life anyway. The pattern started when I was 22 with my cousin Jennifer's wedding. Fresh out of college with an event planning degree, I naively offered to help with centerpieces. Within a week, I was managing vendors, coordinating timelines, and handling crisis after crisis while Jennifer got massages and went dress shopping. The wedding was beautiful. Jennifer got all the credit. I got exhaustion and a pat on the head. "Rachel's so good at this," became the family motto. She loves planning parties. She doesn't mind doing it for free because we're family. What they really meant was, Rachel is single so her time doesn't matter. Rachel doesn't have kids so she's available. Rachel is the family disappointment, so she should be grateful to contribute something useful. Over 8 years I planned 11 family weddings. My cousin Mark's beach ceremony where I coordinated 3 different venues because the bride couldn't decide. My sister Emma's elaborate garden party where I spent 2 weeks handmaking 300 favors. My cousin Sarah's destination wedding where I managed travel arrangements for 150 guests while paying my own way. Every wedding came with the same routine. First, the excited phone call asking for just a little help. Then the gradual expansion of responsibilities until I was essentially running a $20,000 to $50,000 event for free. The bride would get increasingly demanding, the families would add last-minute requests, and I'd work 60-hour weeks for months leading up to the big day. During reception toasts they'd thank everyone except me. The photographer, the caterer, the DJ would all get special mentions. I'd be invisible watching from the back while cleaning up someone else's mess. The worst part wasn't the unpaid labor. It was the constant commentary about my own life. "Maybe if you spent less time on other people's weddings and more time dating, you'd have your own," my aunt would say, conveniently forgetting I'd just spent 6 months organizing her daughter's engagement party. Rachel's career in event planning must be struggling if she has so much time for family projects, my mother would announce to whoever would listen, ignoring that I had a full-time job at a marketing firm. "Some people are meant to be helpers, not the main character," my sister Emma declared after her wedding, where I'd coordinated everything from her dress fittings to the rehearsal dinner she'd thrown for 80 people. The documentation started accidentally. After cousin Jennifer's wedding, I kept all the vendor contracts and timeline spreadsheets in a folder, thinking I might need them for reference. When cousin Mark asked for help 6 months later, I added his paperwork to the same folder. By the 3rd wedding I had a system. Every wedding got its own binder. Contracts, receipts, email printouts, timeline schedules, vendor contact lists, budget breakdowns showing how much I'd saved them, photos of me setting up while the bride relaxed. I kept copies of every disparaging comment and text messages, every last-minute demand that disrupted my work schedule, every instance where my contributions were minimized or ignored. The folder grew to 4 bankers' boxes. 8 years of evidence showing a clear pattern: free labor, emotional manipulation, and systematic devaluation of my time and expertise. The breaking point came when my cousin Melissa announced her engagement to Bradley. Before she'd even chosen a date, my phone was ringing. "Rachel, you'll plan the wedding, right? We're thinking something really special. Maybe 200 people, outdoor ceremony, reception under the stars. Bradley's family has money, so we want it to be impressive." I'd just gotten promoted to senior marketing coordinator. I was finally dating someone promising, a therapist named David who actually valued my time. For the first time in years, my life felt like it was moving forward. "I'm pretty busy with work right now," I said carefully. "Maybe you could hire a professional planner?" The silence stretched for 10 seconds. "Hire someone? Rachel, we're family. You love doing this. And honestly, we can't afford a professional planner with everything else we need to pay for. I understand budgets are tight, but planning a 200-person wedding is essentially a full-time job for several months. I can recommend some affordable planners, or help you find DIY resources." "Mom." Melissa's voice moved away from the phone. "Rachel's being difficult about the wedding planning." My aunt got on the line within minutes. "Rachel, honey, I'm disappointed. Melissa specifically wanted you because you're so talented. She's been bragging to Bradley's family about having a professional event planner in the family. You wouldn't want to embarrass her now, would you?" The manipulation was so smooth, so practiced. Make it about Melissa's happiness. Make it about family loyalty. Make me the villain for having boundaries. I agreed to help with coordination while they handled the major decisions. Within 2 weeks I was managing everything. Melissa would text me at 11 p.m. with urgent vendor questions. Bradley's mother would call during my work hours demanding updates on menu selections. The wedding was 7 months away and I was already working 20 extra hours per week. That's when I started seeing David professionally in addition to personally. As a licensed therapist, he'd watched my stress levels skyrocket with each family wedding. He'd seen the documentation I'd accumulated. He'd listened to my family's phone calls when they'd interrupt our dates with wedding emergencies. "Rachel," he said during one of our sessions, "I need you to read this list and tell me if it sounds familiar." He handed me a printout titled, "Signs of Family Exploitation and Emotional Abuse." Consistently expected to provide free labor for family benefit while your own needs are dismissed. Family members mock or minimize your achievements while demanding you contribute to theirs. Requests framed as temporary favor that expand into major commitments without additional compensation or recognition. Emotional manipulation when you attempt to set boundaries. "You're being selfish, family comes first, we thought you cared about us." Your time and energy treated as less valuable than other family members' time and energy. Pattern of ignoring your expertise in professional settings while exploiting that same expertise for free in family settings. I read the list twice. Every item described my experience perfectly. "This has been happening for 8 years, I said quietly. "And how do you feel about that?" For the first time I said it out loud. Exploited. Used. Like my only value to them is what I can do for free. David helped me develop what he called an empowerment plan. Not revenge, not dramatic confrontation, but strategic boundary setting with professional backing. Step 1. Document everything. I was already doing this, but David helped me organize it more systematically. Every email, every text, every phone call got saved and categorized. Hours worked, money saved, personal costs, missed work, canceled plans, relationship impacts. Step 2. Calculate real costs. Using industry-standard rates for event planning services, David helped me add up what my family had saved by exploiting my labor. 11 weddings, averaging 100 hours of work each at $75 per hour for event coordination. Over $82,000 in free professional services. Step 3. Identify support systems. David connected me with other therapists who'd seen similar family dynamics. He helped me recognize that my friends had been trying to support me for years, but I'd been too embarrassed to admit how badly my family treated me. Step 4. Practice boundary statements. I'm not available for wedding planning. I can recommend several professional planners. My schedule doesn't allow for additional commitments. I've decided to step back from event planning for family. Step 5. Prepare for escalation. David warned me that families often escalate their manipulation when their usual tactics stop working. They'd likely increase guilt trips, threats, and emotional manipulation before accepting the new boundaries. The plan crystallized when Melissa's wedding hit the 3-month mark. She'd escalated from demanding to abusive, treating me like hired help she wasn't paying. Bradley's family had started calling me directly with changes and complaints. The wedding had grown to 250 people with a budget exceeding $40,000, all of which I was coordinating for free while working full-time and trying to maintain my relationship with David. The final straw came on a Tuesday evening. I was at dinner with David when Melissa called, screaming that the florist had misunderstood her vision and everything was ruined. She demanded I drive to the flower shop immediately to fix the situation. "Melissa, I'm at dinner. Can this wait until tomorrow?" "No. This is my wedding. Everything has to be perfect. You're supposed to be taking care of this." David watched me handle the 20-minute tirade about how I was being selfish and irresponsible. When I hung up, he asked the question that changed everything. "Rachel, what would happen if you just didn't show up?" The idea was so radical I couldn't process it initially. Not show up? But the vendors needed coordination. The timeline needed management. The family expected me there at 6 a.m. for setup. The wedding would be chaos, I said. "Yes. And whose responsibility is that?" For the first time I realized the wedding chaos wouldn't be my fault. It would be the natural consequence of expecting free professional services and treating the provider badly. David helped me craft what he called a strategic disengagement plan. Instead of a dramatic confrontation that would give them time to guilt me back into compliance, I would simply become unavailable during the wedding weekend. I booked a therapy intensive retreat at a wellness center 3 hours away. Friday through Sunday, complete digital detox, no phone access, intensive workshops on family trauma and boundary setting. It was scheduled for the exact weekend of Melissa's wedding. The beauty of the plan was its simplicity. I didn't have to confront anyone or justify anything. I just had to be somewhere else, completely unreachable, while they faced the reality of what happens when you don't pay professionals. 2 weeks before the wedding, I sent a single text to the family group chat. Due to a mental health crisis, I'll be attending an intensive therapy retreat this weekend and will be completely unreachable. All vendor contact information is in the shared folder. Wishing Melissa and Bradley a beautiful wedding. Then I turned off my phone. The therapy retreat was transformative. 15 people dealing with family trauma, led by 3 licensed therapists who specialized in family exploitation dynamics. For 3 days I was surrounded by people who understood exactly what I'd experienced. Your family trained you to believe your value came from service, Dr. Martinez explained during one session. They created a system where you provided professional-level labor in exchange for basic family acceptance. That's not love. That's exploitation. Other participants shared similar stories. The daughter who'd been the family's free accountant for 20 years. The son who'd provided free construction work for every family home renovation. The sister who'd been unpaid babysitter for all family gatherings. What you're doing, Dr. Martinez told me, is breaking a cycle. You're showing them that their system only worked because you allowed it to work. When you remove your participation, they have to face the reality of what they were asking. While I was learning about healthy family dynamics and practicing boundary setting, Melissa's wedding was imploding. I got the full story later from my friend Sarah, who was a guest. She'd watched the disaster unfold in real time. The morning of the wedding, the family arrived at the venue expecting everything to be set up and ready. Instead, they found vendors waiting for direction, decorations still in boxes, and no coordination system in place. Melissa's mother called the florist, who said they'd delivered the flowers as contracted but needed someone to specify placement. The caterer was ready to begin food prep but needed final headcount confirmation and dietary restriction updates. The DJ had arrived but needed someone to review the music timeline and special request list. "Where's Rachel?" became the desperate refrain. They tried calling me dozens of times. When they realized my phone was off, they tried calling David. He politely explained that I was at a mental health facility and completely unreachable for the weekend. Mental health facility? Melissa's father demanded. What's wrong with her? Exhaustion and stress-related trauma from family exploitation, David said calmly. The facility recommends no contact until she's completed the intensive therapy program. The family spent the entire morning trying to coordinate what I would have had organized weeks earlier. They called the vendors I'd hired, trying to understand contracts they'd never read. They tried to implement timeline schedules they'd never reviewed. They attempted to set up decorations they'd never planned. By noon, 3 hours before the ceremony, they were in full panic mode. Melissa was sobbing in the bridal suite because the flowers were wrong, the seating chart was missing, and no one could find the special music playlist for her processional. Bradley's family was quietly furious that their elegant wedding was turning into amateur hour chaos. The ceremony happened, but barely. The processional music was wrong because no one could figure out the DJ's equipment. Half the decorations remained in boxes because no one knew the setup plan. The photographer was frustrated because no one could provide the detailed shot list I'd created. The reception was worse. The caterer served dinner an hour late because no one had coordinated the timeline. The cake cutting happened before the toasts because no one was managing the schedule. The special lighting I'd arranged wasn't activated because no one knew how to work the controls. Sarah said the most telling moment came during the reception, when Melissa's mother stood up to give a toast. "We want to thank everyone who made this day special," she began, then paused awkwardly. "The florist, the caterer, the DJ." Another pause. "And of course Rachel, who usually..." She stopped completely, unable to figure out how to acknowledge my absence without admitting how much I'd actually done for free. The toast ended lamely with generic thanks to everyone who contributed. The guests knew something was wrong. Multiple people asked Sarah where I was, commenting that family weddings always seemed so much more organized when I was involved. When word spread that I was at a mental health facility due to family stress, several family friends started connecting the dots. "Wait," Sarah heard my aunt's neighbor say, "Rachel planned all those beautiful weddings for free? And now she's in therapy because of family problems? That's horrible." The family's reputation took an immediate hit. Instead of people admiring Melissa's elegant wedding, they were talking about how the family had exploited me to the point of mental health crisis. I returned from the retreat on Sunday evening with 3 days of intensive therapy behind me and a clear plan for moving forward. Dr. Martinez had helped me craft specific boundary statements and prepare for the family's inevitable attempts to restore the old dynamic. My phone had 47 missed calls and 23 voicemails. I listened to them chronologically, hearing the progression from confused, "Where are you?" to angry, "This is selfish," to panicked, "We need you," to desperate, "Please call back," to accusatory, "You ruined everything." The final voicemail was from my mother, left at 11 p.m. on Saturday night. "Rachel, I don't know what kind of stunt you think you're pulling, but you've embarrassed this entire family. Melissa's wedding was a disaster and it's all your fault. You better have a good explanation for this selfish behavior." I called David first. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Empowered," I said and meant it. For the first time in 8 years, their crisis wasn't my emergency. The family meeting happened Tuesday evening. Everyone gathered at my parents' house for what my mother called a discussion about family loyalty and responsibility. I arrived with documentation. The 4 bankers' boxes of wedding planning evidence, plus Dr. Martinez's assessment of family exploitation patterns, plus David's professional evaluation of the emotional abuse I'd endured. "Rachel," my father began, "we need to talk about your behavior this weekend. Walking out on family commitments is not acceptable." "I didn't walk out," I said calmly. "I sought professional help for trauma caused by 8 years of family exploitation." I opened the first box and pulled out the financial calculations David had helped me compile. "This shows the value of professional services I've provided for free since 2015. 11 weddings, 1,100 hours of labor, $82,500 in event planning services. None of you would expect a professional planner to work for free. None of you would treat a hired coordinator the way you've treated me." Melissa started crying. "I can't believe you're making my wedding about money. We're family." "You're right," I said. "We are family. Which means my time should be valued, not exploited. My expertise should be respected, not demanded. My boundaries should be honored, not manipulated." I pulled out Dr. Martinez's assessment. A licensed therapist who specializes in family dynamics has reviewed our patterns and confirmed systematic emotional abuse and exploitation. The expectation that I provide professional services for free while my personal life is mocked and dismissed is a form of family abuse. The room went silent. My aunt spoke first. "Rachel, we never meant to make you feel used." "Intent doesn't matter," I said. "Impact does. And the impact has been 8 years of my professional expertise being exploited while my personal worth was consistently diminished." I pulled out a printed list of boundary statements I'd practiced with Dr. Martinez. "Moving forward, I'm establishing clear boundaries. I will not plan family events. I will not provide free professional services. I will not accept criticism of my personal life from people who've exploited my professional skills. I will not attend family gatherings where my boundaries are not respected." My mother tried the old manipulation. "So you're just going to abandon your family because we asked for help?" "No," I said. "I'm asking for the same respect you'd give any professional. Pay for services or hire someone else. Appreciate contributions or do without them. Treat me like family, not like free labor." The intervention worked because I had professional backing and documented evidence. David's professional assessment carried weight they couldn't dismiss. Dr. Martinez's evaluation of family exploitation patterns gave me language they couldn't argue with. The financial calculations showed the reality of what they'd been asking in terms they understood. Most importantly, Melissa's wedding disaster had shown them what happens when they don't value professional services. The chaos wasn't theoretical anymore. It was a humiliating reality they'd experienced in front of 200 people. The family's response was mixed. Some, like my cousin Jennifer, apologized genuinely and admitted they'd never considered the real cost of what they'd been asking. Others, like my sister Emma, remained defensive and angry. But the pattern was broken. No one asked me to plan cousin David's wedding 6 months later. They hired a professional planner and paid market rates. When my niece graduates high school next year, they're hiring a party planner instead of expecting free labor. My relationship with David deepened as he watched me implement healthy boundaries and stick to them even when family pressure intensified. A year after Melissa's wedding, he proposed, and we hired a professional wedding planner, paying them fully and appreciating their expertise. The family dynamics shifted permanently. Some relationships improved as they learned to value my time and expertise. Others ended as people who couldn't accept the new boundaries excluded themselves from my life. But I learned the most important lesson from that weekend at the therapy retreat. My value doesn't come from what I can do for others. It comes from who I am. And I am someone who deserves respect, appreciation, and fair treatment, especially from family. The 8 boxes of wedding planning materials sit in my closet now, a reminder of a chapter that's closed. Sometimes I look through them and remember the person who thought she had to earn love through service. That person was worthy of respect all along. She just needed professional help to see it.